DLife TV, the only show for your diabetes life. Packed with information, insights, cooking, and real stories about real people. DLife brings it all together to help you live a healthy diabetes life.
Today on DLife, the diabetes epidemic outside the U.S., also understanding diabetes heredity and genetics, and the Good Samaritan who spends his day making sure people all around the globe get the insulin they need, plus real stories about real people living with diabetes. Welcome to DLife, your source for a healthy diabetes life. I'm Nicole Johnson-Baker. Diabetes has become an alarming global epidemic. The World Health Organization estimates the number of cases worldwide has increased six-fold since 1985 to 194 million. In the next 20 years, that number will increase to more than 350 million. The biggest increases are in developing countries where more and more people are eating Western diets. The United States has the highest rate of diabetes per capita, followed by India and China. To better understand this diabetes epidemic, DLife traveled to Chennai, a large city in the south of India.
All over the world, the prevalence of diabetes is rising very rapidly. But nowhere is this more marked than in India, which has now the dubious distinction of being called the diabetic capital of the world.
According to the World Health Organization, there are between 35 and 40 million people with diabetes in India today.
I'm Dr.V.Mohan. I'm chairman of Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center. We are located in Chennai, in southern India.
Chennai is only one example of the many places in India that have seen a dramatic rise in diabetes rates in recent years. In an effort to help those with diabetes in Chennai, Dr. Mohan and his wife Reema established a state-of-the-art diabetes center there in 1991.
I and my husband started the center to give quality care for the diabetic patient, not only for his diabetes, but all the complications related to diabetes.
There are departments for ophthalmology, podiatry, surgery, and cardiology, all specially geared towards people with diabetes. To date, more than 140,000 patients have received treatment. The past 30 years has seen an 800% increase in the prevalence of diabetes in Chennai. This increase is projected to go far beyond the borders of India. In the year 2025, there will be an expected 333 million people with diabetes in the world. What could explain this spiraling global epidemic? Chennai offers us some answers.
I have lived in Chennai almost all my life, and during the course of the last 20-30 years, I'm able to visibly see the changes in the lifestyle of the people.
Economic development has driven many of these lifestyle changes, including greater availability of motor vehicles.
Today, the cars have become so much cheaper, the motorcycles and the scooters have become so much cheaper, there are auto rickshaws everywhere. People are not walking as they used to earlier.
The more sedentary lifestyle has contributed to weight gain, which is a significant factor in causing type 2 diabetes. A high-fat Western diet has also played a role in the epidemic.
20 years ago, we would not have had the pizza bars or the burger joints and the fast food joints. So eating out has become much more common. Where people used to eat a lot of vegetables and fruits and so on, today people are eating more and more rich foods, oily foods. So it's not just high carbohydrate, but also high fat. And we have shown that when you look at the fat intake, the higher the fat intake, the higher the prevalence of diabetes in the community.
Affluent Indians who have access to these Western foods and modern conveniences have the highest rates of diabetes, but the disease is still taking its toll across all economic classes.
When my husband and I started this center, we found that quite often the underprivileged were not getting the treatment because they could not afford to come to us. We didn't want to turn them off. And so that gave us the privilege of starting a free clinic for the underprivileged.
The free clinic is subsidized by the doctors regularly paying patients, as well as by private donations. One such family that has benefited from this free clinic is the Gaffours, All 5 members of the family have diabetes.
டயபெட்டிக் எனக்கு 93ல எனக்கு வந்ததுமா.
Mr. Gafoor and his wife have type 2 diabetes.
அப்புறம் பையனுக்கு என்னுடைய சின்ன பையனுக்கு 97ல வந்தது. பாக்கி மற்ற ரெண்டு பிள்ளைங்களுக்கு 2004ல வந்தது.
All 3 of his children have type 1.
Gafoor and his wife actually belong to a lower middle class. And it's bad enough for them trying to afford the treatment for themselves. But then when the first son developed diabetes and needed insulin, that began to really eat into their pocket. And then the second one developed, he also needed insulin. And the third child also developed. It was a total disaster as far as the family was concerned.
When Mr. Gafoor heard about Dr. Mohan's clinic, he brought himself and his family for treatment. At the clinic, Mr. Gafoor and his family received comprehensive care, including blood tests, eye exams, and foot care.
Patients, when they come to us for specialized treatment. These treatments are not quite often available at the general hospitals or the other hospitals, so we really cannot turn them away.
We'll provide the diabetes care for the whole family and also provide the insulin and the tablets and everything that they need for the treatment completely free on a lifelong basis.
The Gafoor family also attends educational programs at the clinic to learn about the risks of diabetes and how to manage it. Education is vital because the social stigma associated with diabetes in India is very real. Young people with the disease may find it difficult to get married or sustain marriages because of this taboo. To educate people outside the city, Dr. Mohan has a free outreach program which goes into the villages.
Wherever people are, we go there and teach people about diabetes, its signs, symptoms, tell them that you don't need to get the symptoms to actually have the disease. 50% don't even know that they have it. Then we do opportunistic screening. We take these small meters and on the spot we do blood sugars and we detect literally thousands of people who didn't know that they had diabetes.
In 25 years, an estimated 75 million people will have diabetes in India. That number is larger than the populations of 97% of the countries in the world. In response, the government is planning a national prevention and education program similar to Dr. Mohan's efforts.
If we are able to kickstart this national program, then I think there would be a tremendous impact made and the prevalence of diabetes in India can really start going down.
Dr. Mohan is hopeful that improvement can be made.
I think it's my dream that one fine day there'll be no more diabetes in this country and Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialties Center has now become a museum.
Diabetes is the most serious health threat of the 21st century. Only by making major investments of resources can developing countries like India stem the tide.
Up next, a look at what it means to have diabetes in your genes.